30 years ago this fall, a law professor named Anita Hill testified about sexual harassment at Clarence Thomas's Supreme Court confirmation hearings. Now, Because of Anita tells the real story of what happened and what's changed. You'll hear from journalists, witnesses, and activists, and listen in on the first public conversation between Professor Hill and Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. That's Because of Anita, a production of Pineapple Street Studios and The Meteor, out now wherever you get your podcasts.
There was stories of these girls that would leave his house and they would have to swim out in the lake and get away from them. He has a secret, like the secret room in his house. He put me in there, she said. I don't want anybody to die anymore. I don't want anybody else to die. I'm looking for Ashley.
Season 3 of Up and Vanished is available right now. Listen for free on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Sports Radio 610 presents In the Loop with John Lopez and Landry Locker.
All right, we do it every Tuesday. A little head start on making that moolah during the weekends of Pigskin. Michael Jenkins does that for us of BetQL, host of the Daily Tip. Michael, how you living, my friends?
Doing well, my friend. How are you?
Doing good, man. So we're coming off another week of Alabama, just basically doing what Alabama do, as well as Georgia now getting into that conversation. It's safe to say that Georgia covered the spread against Arkansas, and we're finding ourselves in a similar situation. It seems like kind of a trend. Alabama or Georgia heavy favorites. Alabama a 17.5-point favorite against Texas A&M. Are you leaning Alabama here? Because I kind of am. At some point, you just got to charge it to the game and just trust that the Crimson Tide are going to roll.
Yeah, and not only are they the best team in college football, which we all know, but Texas A&M just seems to be falling apart, and I don't think anyone anticipated that things would go this awry this early in the season. And the way Alabama plays right now, you just have to wonder if the Aggies are going to be motivated here. Anything under, I hate to say this, anything under 20, I'm probably going to lay with Alabama. This line seems short to me. I understand it's going to be in College Station, and I understand that possibly they could give Alabama some trouble, but I can't figure out a way for that to happen, especially with the issues that they're having on offense. So I would lay it with the Tide. You
also have in the SEC a team that got introduced to Alabama this weekend, Ole Miss, back at home. They're hosting Arkansas. Arkansas was on a high horse. They were rushing the field after they beat Texas. They were feeling themselves after they beat Texas A&M. And now here they find themselves looking at Ole Miss, and they are a 6-point underdog in this. I'm not going to lie. I'm leaning Ole Miss here. I think that Ole Miss actually – I think Ole Miss covers this relatively easy. Tell me why I'm wrong, or tell me why you agree.
This is one of my favorite bets, and I'm not just saying that because you're on the right side with me, or I feel like you're on the right side with me. I've said this on your show before, and I'm going to keep saying it. Is Arkansas really that good? Do we really have any sort of evidence that Arkansas is a great football team? Because they might be, but what I've seen is them beat a Texas team that is pretty inconsistent, did have a different quarterback in Fayetteville, but ultimately was almost beaten by TCU, almost gave that game away. They beat a Texas A&M team, which has disappointed us, which hasn't performed to expectations. They got drilled by Georgia. What exactly has Arkansas done, truly? Have they beaten a really good team yet? I'm not quite sure that they have. And there's no shame if you're Ole Miss and losing to Alabama. I think even if Ole Miss is a little leaky on defense, that Lane Kiffin offense can outscore Arkansas. It's less than the key number of 7, so I'm with you on the Rebels.
Yeah, and I look at that Arkansas win over Texas. I'm not just saying this because I'm a Texas fan, but that's not the Texas team that we're seeing right now that we'll get to in a second. It's not like when you have a different. It's not even close to the same squad that this Texas team is. I would love to see, and I don't know if it's possible. I would honestly like to see at the end of the year. I would like to see whether it's a Cotton Bowl matchup, whether it's the Texas Bowl right down the street. I would like to see Texas play Arkansas again because I think the result would be different.
I think so too, and especially if it were at a neutral site and you had Casey Thompson quarterback, and they have looked like a different team. And this is still a team that is adjusting to a new head coach and a new system on both sides of the football. So I think we would see a different result. Even if it were a closer game, I certainly don't think we'd see an Arkansas blowout.
Now, we're going back to Texas now. Texas, number 21, Oklahoma, number 6. OU is a 3.5-point favorite in this one. I think this is the closest betting line that we've had in this game. I want to say in over 10 years. I'm not sure, but it seems like when Texas has won in the past and recently, they've been like a 7-point dog or something like that. How do you see this game going? Because I'm getting a sense that a lot of people are liking Texas in this game. You've seen Oklahoma kind of struggle on offense. Where do you sit on this one?
Man, I keep going back and forth. This is a tough one. I might grab Texas because it's at 3.5, and it feels like this might be a field goal game because Oklahoma is not the Oklahoma that we've seen. The fact that Spencer Rattler is getting booed in Norman is just unbelievable to me. This is a guy who was a favorite to win the Heisman Trophy before the season started, and he struggled somewhat. Texas is really close, but they can sort of shoot themselves in the foot, and that's the only thing that makes me nervous if you're a Longhorns backer. They had 3 first and goals in Fort Worth of the past weekend and came away with 6 points, and they've got to execute better because they are a markedly better than TCU. They're a markedly better team than TCU. Should have won that game by at least a couple touchdowns, and they were lucky to escape in the way that they did. They're close to putting it together. Can they put it all together in a week to beat Oklahoma? If there is a year to do it, this is probably it because the Sooners aren't as good as they have been in the past. But man, this is a real tough one to call.
They're pretty
good. They are.
That's the thing. That's the thing. I mean, it's one of those things. I don't want to say that a Lincoln Riley team is going to get sleepwalk or anything like that, but you know that they're going to be ready to play against Texas. And Rattler has been in this environment, got benched last year, came back in. They ended up winning that thriller in overtime. I'm leaning OU here. I'm not going to lie. I'm leaning OU here because I just think that they just have too much talent, regardless of how we've seen them struggle.
I mean, no, and I hear you. I can't make a strong argument either way, which means I'm probably not going to play this one. And plus, when I'm emotionally invested, I'm going to go crazy if I bet on this game. But I get the Oklahoma side of the argument, which is the experience here. If you're Casey Thompson, for example, not only have you just taken over this team, you've never played in this environment before. You've never played in this game before, and that is a huge advantage for Lincoln Riley. It's a huge advantage for Spencer Rattler. And you know, as you said, the Sooners will be ready for this game. If they haven't showed up to any other game so far this season, they will show up to this one. We all know that.
Last week you gave us Michael Jenkins of the Daily Tip on BetQL. You gave us UTSA, and you were correct. Is there another game that you like on the slate that maybe people should be paying attention to as far as college?
Ooh, that's a good one. I love that Ole Miss play. I know this is going to be a tight one, so I'm not crazy comfortable with this one yet, but I kind of like Iowa laying 2 points at home because it's less than a field goal. This is going to be a really defensive battle. In fact, the play might just be the under. The total is set at 51.5 between Penn State and Iowa.
Big 10 unders. Death taxes, Big 10 unders.
Man, I'm telling you, you've got two of the best defenses in the country. Neither of these teams is probably going to blow it up and down the field with their offense. Even though Iowa looked great against Maryland, this is a different animal. You can just feel this being, a 2017 slow-paced game settled by a field goal with Iowa City, so that might just be the right play.
What about in the NFL? Is there anything that catches your attention on the NFL slate? There have been some trap lines recently. They tend to happen in the NFL. Is there anything that sticks out from the NFL perspective as we shift to Sunday?
I will say I want to see how this plays out. This whole Urban Meyer thing is absolutely crazy.
Goodness.
It's unbelievable. And on Saturday, the look-ahead line for Tennessee in Jacksonville was Tennessee laying 7 points. All of a sudden, that's down to 4, and that's a reaction
Seems like a trap.
It does seem like a trap, but it's dropped 3 points, and I think this is an overreaction to Tennessee losing to the Jets, which nobody anticipated. I think the Titans, especially with all the nonsense going on in Jacksonville, may be able to cover that 4. But another number I like even better is the Bills getting points in Kansas City. I think Buffalo is the best team in the AFC. And Kansas City, they covered the spread last week, but now I believe they're 2-16-1 in their last 19 against the number. Everyone loves betting Kansas City because they see Patrick Mahomes, they see that offense, and they assume Kansas City covers every week. Kansas City does not. They're really overvalued, and they have the worst defense in the NFL as far as yards allowed per play. And I think the Bills going to Kansas City to make a statement. I might even be tempted to put Buffalo on the money line and put some money down there.
Michael, enjoy the Red River Shootout. I still call it Shootout. Don't cancel me. I'm a little bit old school in that matter. But you enjoy your weekend, man. We look forward to talking to you next week.
I was complaining about that as well this morning. Yeah, appreciate it so much.
All right, there we go. Michael Jenkins of the Daily Tip on BetQL. You can search the Daily Tip where you find your podcast. Don't type in Daily Tip on like Google or something like that, because you might end up seeing some stuff you do not want to see. Coming up, Brandon Scott, straight from the Juice Box, and Dusty Baker, talking to Dusty Baker and many of the players to your radio. A little ALDS preview, as well as a preview of some of the best possible viewing you could have on a Tuesday night. Next.
Keeping up with the flood of news every single day can be quite stressful. There is climate change happening. There's the pandemic, labor movements, Nicki Minaj's cousin's friend. Hi, I am Gideon Resnick, host of Crooked Media's What a Day. Each week, Travelle Anderson, Priyanka Arabindi, Josie Duffy Rice, and I are going to break down the biggest news stories of the day in a way that hopefully doesn't always make you want to cry. New episodes of What a Day drop every weekday at 5 a.m. Eastern. Listen on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
CuriosityStream has thousands of documentary films and shows available on demand on any device. We're the Netflix for nerds, the Hulu for history buffs, the Disney Plus for the scientist in us. There sure are a lot of streaming services, aren't there? CuriosityStream is the one you definitely need if you're the type to nature dock and chill, if you're an armchair astronaut, if you prefer physics to psychics, or perhaps you know a precocious paleontologist. Go to curiositystream.com to learn more and sign up today.
30 years ago this fall, a law professor named Anita Hill testified about sexual harassment at Clarence Thomas's Supreme Court confirmation hearings. Now, Because of Anita tells the real story of what happened and what's changed. You'll hear from journalists, witnesses, and activists, and listen in on the first public conversation between Professor Hill and Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. That's Because of Anita, a production of Pineapple Street Studios and The Meteor, out now wherever you get your podcasts.